And Senator Dianne Feinstein, who held the letter apparently since July, just issuing a statement. This, she says, I'm disappointed. The FBI and White House are failing to take even the most basic steps to investigate this matter. So will Professor Ford participate Monday? Will Judge Kavanaugh be simply delayed or completely derailed? Let's bring in senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, Ian Millhiser, and chief counsel for the Judicial Crisis Network, Carrie Severino. Welcome to both of you tonight. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Okay, so you've heard a lot about these demands by the Democrats that the FBI perform an investigation. This is what they've told us in part. A DOJ spokesperson says the FBI does not make any judgment about the credibility or significance of any allegations. The allegation does not involve any potential federal crime. The FBI's role in such matters is to provide information for the use of the decision makers. So, Ian, they've said, we've given this to the White House. We've made it part of the file. That's all we would do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all that they're saying here, I mean, rape or attempted rape would be a state crime. And so that's just not within the FBI's jurisdiction. And, you know, the job of confirming a potential Supreme Court justice is within the Senate's jurisdiction. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a hearing on Monday. There have been credible allegations, and it's going to be up to the senators to weigh, you know, who they think is telling the truth. And, you know, ultimately the Senate's just going to have to decide this because, you know, the FBI is indeed limited in the fact that rape is just not something within its jurisdiction.
Is there going to be anything about this hearing? We don't know if Dr. Ford is going to come tonight or not. The Senate Judiciary Committee says they're having the hearing. Whoever shows up is going to be under oath. We're going to proceed whether it's both of them or just the nominee who said he's ready for this. But will there be any way in which Judge Kavanaugh can fully clear himself or satisfy? Will either side ever be satisfied? Because it's, you know, he said, she said about something 36 years ago. Does either side ever end up fully vindicated in this?
Well, these are claims that are very difficult to substantiate, especially when many of the key details are ones that she doesn't even say she remembers herself. So these allegations, you can't say, well, I wasn't at this party at this day in 1982, because she doesn't know what day it happened. She doesn't know where it happened. I think what we're going to have is an opportunity for both sides to be heard, to tell their story. Judge Kavanaugh says he's looking forward to being able to refute the allegations, and you'll have opportunity for both sides to ask questions, and then it's going to come down to a judgment of the credibility of each of these individuals. But I do think that when you have a situation like this, he said, she said, you also do have to take into account the character witnesses, and we've seen a lot of that going through this whole process. Everyone that was talking about Judge Kavanaugh's sterling reputation, you have the ABA saying in integrity, he doesn't just get an A+, it's an A++. And now we have 65 women who knew him since high school and since then as well, and have, including several women who were dating him and one who was dating him at the time that these allegations took place. They say this is not at all the kind of person we know in Judge Kavanaugh. He always treated us with decency and respect. And so, you know, as where people are trying to gauge this is going to be the senator's job, is to determine, is this so out of odds, at odds with what we know of Judge Kavanaugh? You know, how do we make that call?
Well, and we've heard, obviously, the plan set by the Senate Judiciary Committee Chair, Chuck Grassley. I mean, he chairs this. He's obviously a Republican. We're not hearing a lot tonight from the Democrats about whether they're going to show up, whether they're encouraging Dr. Ford to show up or not. Senator Cornyn says this: if Democrats reject the committee handling this swiftly and in a bipartisan way through regular order, then it's clear that their only intention is to smear Judge Kavanaugh and derail his nomination, Ian.
Well, let's see what happens. You know, her attorney says that she does intend to testify. And I will say one thing, you know, to your point about, you know, he said, she said is hard. But what we're talking about here, when you strip away the pageantry and you strip away the fancy job titles that everyone has who's doing it, is you have a job interview. And if I was hiring an intern and there was this serious an allegation against a potential intern, I would hire a different intern. And so I think when you have this serious of an allegation against a potential Supreme Court justice, what you don't want to do, you know, they're not held, this isn't like a criminal trial where they're held to a beyond the reasonable doubt standard. You want to be pretty darn sure that they didn't do it. Because, again, it's a job interview. And
how can he, 36 years later, prove himself when she doesn't even know where and when this happened? And listen, everybody processes trauma differently if this indeed happened to her, but she doesn't give him a lot to work with as far as defending himself.
Right. I mean, it is difficult to know what happened here. And I guess at a certain point you have to say, if you are not sure that he did not do it, there are plenty of other qualified people who can do the job. There are plenty of other qualified conservative people
okay, I
who
want
can
to read
do the
something
job.
here. David Harsanyi, writing in The Federalist, if Republicans bring up the fact that Ford's allegation wasn't reported or relayed to anyone for more than 30 years until Kavanaugh's name emerged as a possible Supreme Court justice, they'll be accused of attacking a woman. If they point out that her therapist notes, the one that Ford claims prove her charge, in some ways contradict what she's now saying, they'll be portrayed as a bunch of men attacking a sexual assault survivor. He goes on to say, this woman will be treated like Anita Hill and not like Juanita Broderick.
Well, I think one interesting point about it is this is not supposed to be guilty until proven innocent. That's essentially what many people are asking, and I think it's also being treated as a let's just continue to use this as a source for delay, because I think it's the Democrats here who are asking for investigations. Yes, they are not giving him the opportunity to make a case at the same time as they're assuming everything that she says naturally follows. But I think it's also, look at the context. Look at Senator Feinstein, who chose not to act on these. If she thought this was credible and serious, why didn't she ask him in private? Why didn't she ask him all these times? Why did they all wait until this last moment? The timing of this was perfectly timed to block investigation.
And there are a lot of folks on the left who think she's done a disservice to the accuser because of this, because it immediately raises red flags for a lot of people. Ian and Carrie, thank you very much. We'll be watching this next Monday.
Thanks, Shannon.